There's a battle going on in America's skies right now over the future of Spirit Airlines. See, on one side, fellow ultra-low-cost carrier Frontier Airlines is trying to merge with Spirit, and on the other, slightly higher budget JetBlue is attempting a hostile takeover of Spirit. Now, this battle has the potential to reshape America's aviation sector, so to win, both sides have been locked in a war of words as they try and convince Spirit and its shareholders that they'd be a better match than their rival. So how did we get here? Why is Spirit so coveted, and what could this mean for passengers? Let's dive in. Okay, so here's how we got here. After a deal had been rumoured for years, in early February of 2022, Frontier offered to buy Spirit for $2.9 billion in cash and stock. The deal was set to close by the end of this year, but then in comes JetBlue with a rival unsolicited offer.
So they come in with a $3.6 billion offer, all cash.
That's WSJ's Alison Sider, who has been following this battle closely.
Now Spirit has a little bit of a dilemma. They have, this partner that they've been talking to for months and months, and they're excited about the deal. And now JetBlue is offering, what at least JetBlue describes as an offer that's too good to refuse. Despite
it being higher, Spirit rejects JetBlue's offer over worries around antitrust concerns.
And JetBlue obviously was unhappy with that.
So JetBlue begins a hostile takeover attempt by appealing to Spirit's shareholders, offering to buy their shares for $30 each and encouraging them to vote against the Frontier deal.
Basically saying, Spirit shareholders, this will send a message to Spirit's board and management that you really don't want to do this Frontier deal, that this JetBlue deal is much better for you. So it's sort of a long saga, but that's where we are now.
So why is there such an intense battle over a no-frills airline? Well, whoever takes Spirit would become the 5th biggest airline in America in terms of seat capacity. And both JetBlue and Frontier have said that would put them in a better position to take on the big four of Delta, United, Southwest, and American Airlines.
They just think Spirit is sort of like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to grow more quickly than they can grow on their own.
Now, Frontier has a similar business model and similar planes to Spirit, but they mainly operate on different sides of America.
They're arguing they're putting these networks together, it's really going to make them a national presence.
And for JetBlue, taking Spirit could help them avoid pilot shortages and backlogs for new plane orders.
It's going to take Spirit's big yellow planes with the seats all smushed really close together. It's going to rip out some rows, make a little more legroom, retrofit them so they look just like JetBlue planes.
But there could be another reason why these two companies so desperately want Spirit, and that's to stop the other side from getting it.
Some analysts have suggested, if Spirit and Frontier merge, suddenly they're the 5th largest carrier, JetBlue's getting bumped lower on the list. Maybe that leaves them a little vulnerable. What do they do next?
So, what could a potential deal mean for you, the passenger? Well, it could affect ticket prices, route choices, and seat availability. Here's how. First off, ticket prices. Now, JetBlue and Frontier both argue that the presence of a bigger low-cost carrier would force the big four to have to lower their ticket prices and expand their own economy offerings to remain competitive. But a deal would also mean there's one less budget carrier operating in America, and less choice often means higher prices. Next is routes, because to avoid falling foul of antitrust regulators, JetBlue and Frontier could have to sacrifice some airport slots, gates, and routes.
JetBlue has said they've preemptively agreed to make these divestments in New York and Boston. Frontier hasn't discussed that, in such detail, but the Justice Department could ask either carrier to make those kinds of cuts.
Finally, there's the number of seats. Because if JetBlue wins the battle for Spirit, it's likely it will reconfigure its planes by removing some seats to create extra legroom, and that could mean less seat availability. So what's going to happen next? Well, Spirit shareholders will vote on the Frontier deal on June 10th, and it's likely that JetBlue will be hoping to get a bit more of an indication of which way those shareholders are leaning before then. So stay tuned, there may be more turbulence ahead.